Hi everybody! Thank you so much for joining on this beautiful Monday wherever you are in the world. I hope you are having a fantastic day. Okay, so today we are going to announce the winner of the Yoni Steam stool giveaway that we've been doing for the last couple of weeks. So we're going to announce the winner, and then today we're also going to talk about healing herbs to make vaginal steaming even more effective. So in the last couple of weeks we've talked about what it is, how it helps women's health, why it's so great for menstrual cycle health and fertility. We've talked about how to set up a steam spa in your house. And so today we're going to talk about adding in herbs to that mixture. Just like food gives us nutrients, herbs can give us properties that can help with our health. And so if you're steaming for a specific reason, adding in herbs can make that so much more effective. Okay, so if this is the first time you're watching one of my videos, I'm Molly. I'm the nutritional therapy practitioner over at parsleyandpumpkins.com, where I help my clients balance their hormones, eat food that they love, feel good in their bodies so that they can have easy, pain-free periods and get pregnant naturally. We're all about supporting women's health and fertility, and it's all encompassing. If you're supporting your health, you are supporting your fertility. They're not separate things. So let's go ahead and dive into today's topic. We're just going to talk about herbs. So the reason that you would want to add herbs in, steaming by itself is still very effective. Just getting, like the same thing we do when we have a sinus cold. That heat, the humidity, all of that moisture just helps to clean things out. So steaming with just water is still very beneficial. It's still going to help your body to release everything fully, which is so important. And most women, like 99%, have some signs or symptoms of old residue that is not being cleaned out. So that's like brown spotting before your period, spotting in the middle, cramping, any of that, large clots, anything that's not like a bright red color. That's all signs that there is old residue that just wasn't cleaned out the last time. So you're seeing it the second time around. So most women have these signs, and so just doing a steam can help to clean that out. But then adding in herbs to this mixture can make it much more targeted towards whatever healing you're trying to do if you have a specific issue that you're dealing with. So for example, steaming with plain water helps to increase circulation to the uterus. It helps to release, everything that needs to be released. But let's say that you are one of the women who watch these videos who have PCOS, and you have these really long cycles, right? 45 days, 90 days, 6 months. And adding herbs to your steaming protocol, if you're doing this weekly, can give you even more support to help your uterus communicate with your brain better, for one. Hi Terry, thanks so much for joining. And it can also help to bring that period come sooner so that you're not waiting these big gaps of time in between, especially if you have PCOS and you're trying to conceive. We talk about if you haven't conceived for a year, then something's going on. But that's considering 12 cycles during the year. And so if you have PCOS and you are only ovulating 2 or 3 times a year, that's only 2 or 3 cycles. And so even the reference range for infertility, which is really just it hasn't happened yet, right? If we can all just reframe the word infertility in our minds as it just hasn't happened yet and we're working on it, that would be amazing. And so if you're counting your months, it's very different than counting your cycles. And so if you're working on something like that, adding in herbs can just speed up that process than doing things alone. It's kind of like you can have an amazing diet and you can, over a few years, watch your health completely change, but then adding in some key supplements, if you have deficiencies, can get you there faster. So that's kind of what we're doing with herbs here. Okay, so there are many herbs in your kitchen even that you could use to make your own Yoni Steam recipe. So I'm going to add a link into the description of the post. I made an article on my website that talks about what to look for in a formulation, right? one herb by itself can still be really effective, but bringing in a holistic view, right? Like we have a holistic view of our health. We look at lifestyle, sleep, time outside, our food. We want to look at a herb formulation holistically as well. So you're not just targeting one thing and leaving out other things. Sometimes if we push too hard on a certain nutrient or a certain issue, everything in the body is balanced. So if we bring something up, something else might come down. So we want to have this holistic view so everything is really balanced. So I'll link to the article if you want to start formulating some things. And you can also do a session if you want to help get some ideas around how to formulate things yourself. Okay, so using an herbal blend is much more effective than a single herb by itself. So an individual herb may have properties of disinfecting, right? Thyme, oregano, a lot of those kitchen herbs that we cook with, those have very disinfecting properties. They're antiviral, antifungal, antimicrobial in general. And so, which is why we cook with them. That's why they're kitchen herbs, right? It all comes together. And so if you're using one of those for steaming, you can get the benefits of it being disinfecting. It can be really helpful if you do have a history of recurrent BV, if you have recurrent yeast infections, those can be great. But doing a disinfecting herb on its own, hey Scarlett, good to see you. Doing a disinfecting herb on its own could be very drying, right? If you think about oregano, rosemary, they're very pungent, but they kind of have a drying feeling to them. And so you can create this minor imbalance if you're pushing too hard on just this one characteristic of an herb. So when I'm doing an herb formulation, either for myself, for a client, if I'm evaluating an herb formulation someone else is doing, there are 5 characteristics that I look for. And so this is written out in the article too, and I've listed like the top 5 kind of herbs in each of these categories. A lot of them are very common. They might be in your kitchen now. You might have a friend growing them in their flower bed down the street. And you know, everything is available online these days. Mountain Rose Herbs is actually a great resource for herbs. They do a lot of quality control to make sure that what you're getting is the herb. There's actually a lot of that online. People trying to pass things off that aren't really the thing that you're buying. So just if you're buying your own herbs, just make sure that you're getting a reputable source where they've really looked into the farming practices, all of that. So you're getting something really good. Okay, so the 5 characteristics that we would look at in an herb formulation. For starters, I want something cleansing. I want an herb that is going to have cleansing properties that will help the uterus release the things that it doesn't need to be holding on to. These are, and so in the beginning of the videos, if you missed it, things like period cramps, brown spotting, clots, all of those are signs that there is old residue that has not been fully released during your previous period. And so if you get brown spotting before, that's something that's kind of been hanging out your whole cycle, right? And so if you are trying to conceive, you want to make sure that your uterine lining is pristine, right? That's why we have a period. It has to be new and fresh each month. And so you want it to be actually new and fresh. So the cleansing herbs are what support the uterus in actually doing that. They support the like muscle mechanics of releasing the things that need to be released. We also want to add in a blood toning herb to help the body replenish the blood supply. We lose a lot of blood during our cycles, and even if we're not anemic, we're still rebuilding all of that, and it's still taking energy, it's taking nutrients. And so adding in a blood toning herb is amazing for any woman, you know, whatever you're trying to target, you're still going to need to be creating new blood, so you want to support that for yourself. The other element I want to add in is a hydrating herb. So earlier we talked about if you're just doing a disinfecting herb by itself, that can be very drying on the body. And so we can add in a hydrating herb to balance that out. And so what these herbs do, it's not necessarily like drinking water is hydrating. These herbs act on your kidneys and support your kidneys' mechanisms of recycling water more efficiently. right? Our kidneys are always cycling out water. They are filtering out nutrients, so they're taking calcium out of the urine, putting it back into the body, getting rid of things. It's doing a lot of work. It's not just dumping stuff. And we can lose water very quickly just through our urine. And so these hydrating herbs, that's how they help your body to stay hydrated, is by supporting your kidneys so that you're not losing excess moisture during the day. And all of us need to be drinking more water. I don't think I've met many people at all who drink the amount of water that they really should. So if you have a glass of water with you right now, have a sip. Okay, so the next element that I add in is a disinfecting herb. So even if you don't have BV, you don't have yeast infections, if that hasn't been a problem for you, you still have a microbiome on your skin and in the vaginal canal. We have our microbiome everywhere. You have a microbiome in your sinuses, in your ears, in your hair, everywhere. And so these disinfecting herbs can help to make sure that your microbiome stays healthy, right? So if you have a dysbiosis issue, you have yeast infections, these can help to bring you into balance. If you don't have those problems, these are preventative, and they just help to make sure that stays healthy, right? Yoni steaming historically, traditionally, has been used as preventative medicine. It's been used as a way to support our bodies month after month after month for our whole lives. We don't need to wait until something has gone wrong to be supporting our bodies and building these really healthy habits. I think Yoni steaming is a perfect example of that. It's so cool. So the last element that I bring in is actually a digestion supporting herb, which seems totally strange. It's just in water and you're steaming, so how could an herb have any impact on your digestion? But really what these herbs do, whether you are eating them like a seasoning on food or steaming with them, is they help increase circulation throughout the body. So you have blood flow moving faster, easier, more efficiently, right? We have our main cardiovascular system, these big veins all through our bodies, but then we've got all these little splintered off branches and more splintered off branches on them going into every single part of our body. And so these circulating herbs can help to get the blood moving into some of those little cracks and crevices, right? We're not talking about getting it through your whole body. We're talking about getting it more thoroughly into the tissues, right? Into the uterine tissues, into the tissues around your ovaries, to support those organs and what they're trying to do. So those are the 5 elements that I like to include in an herb formulation. It's very holistic. If you're steaming just for dealing with a short cycle, you're steaming just for dealing with recurring bacterial vaginosis, whatever it is, you still need all these other elements. You're still needing to clean out old residue. You're still needing to support blood, support your kidneys. And so I think doing a formulation like this is much more balanced, and it's much more holistic in supporting your entire body, because none of these things are separate from other parts. Your uterus is not on its own down there. It's communicating with your brain. It's involved with your adrenal glands. It's involved with your kidneys. It's involved with everything. And so the more we can bring that idea into the way that we're trying to manage our health, the better results that we'll get, really. So, okay, I had an example, and I think I already went through it. So I am going to direct you over to that blog if you want to try this for yourself. So I have listed out the 5 categories we just went through, and then like the top 5 herbs in each of those categories, but herbs that are easy to find, right? So they're not like these weird things you're going to have to hunt down. A lot of them are things that might be in your kitchen, they might be in your flower garden, or that you can find really easily online. So you can play around with that if you want to formulate your own. And then I've also included a couple of recipes for some of the really common complaints that I hear from my clients. So there's a recipe for painful period cramps. If you get a lot of cramping, that is a sign of old residue. That is a sign that there is stuff stuck in there that is not being released fully. It's kind of fascinating. It's the same mechanisms that release things during our period as that birth a baby, right? Those are the same muscles in your uterus that are pushing things through. And so if there's something in there, right, that's why labor is so painful. There's something in there. And so if you're having a lot of painful period cramps, that's a very likely sign that your body just is not fully releasing everything it needs to release, and it's kind of starting to build up. So there's a recipe for painful period cramps that you can use. There's a recipe for vaginal dryness. That's a common one that I hear, especially for my ladies out there who are trying to conceive, and we're, paying attention to the calendar and making sure things happen when they need to happen. Sometimes we can use a little bit of help. So there's a recipe to just support your body's own ability to hydrate, right? So there's some extra hydrating herbs in that recipe. And then there's also a recipe for women who have very long cycles. So 36 days or longer. And we can be talking like 6 months you haven't had a period. This recipe is for you. These are the herbs. They're a little bit more of the cleansing herbs that will help your body to, I can't guarantee that if you haven't had a period in a year that you do steaming once and you're going to get it all of a sudden. Steaming is one of those habit practices that really builds up over time. Although I definitely have heard many stories of women who haven't had a period in a long time, and steaming can bring it on. I just can't guarantee it. So this recipe is geared towards the women who are dealing with that. So you can play around with that recipe and give it a try. And I really do encourage you to try it a few times. So you can steam, I would say 4 or 5 times a month is a pretty good amount. You don't want to do it too much. You don't want to be doing this every day. So just do it as like a weekly practice, take a nice long bath on a Saturday night, do some steaming, do some aromatherapy in your house. Just make this kind of part of your self-care routine. I've actually found that meditating is a great practice to do while steaming, because you're kind of just sitting there steaming. You're not really doing much. And so doing something like the Circle and Bloom apps, the Calm apps, any of those meditation practices, if you meditate on your own, it's a fantastic self-care routine to add into this. So you can kind of combine those. Habits are easier if you just add new habits onto habits you already have, Okay, so I will link over to the blog post that has those recipes so you guys can check those out. And I really encourage you to give this a try. And so we announced the winner of the steam stool earlier. Trisha Wanuku was our winner. So if Trisha joined, congratulations. I'll send you an email with all of the details for that. And so if you enjoyed this video, please click the like button below. Please share this out in your groups with your friends, to whomever you know that needs to get this information. And you can find me at parsleyandpumpkins.com. And next week, so I do a live video every Monday at 11. Next week, we are going to be talking about improving egg quality when you have PCOS, and how to really support your eggs over their entire maturation process. Your eggs are maturing for technically you have them your whole life, so they're always there, but once they get ready to ovulate, it's like a 3-month event that they are growing and maturing and getting ready. And so we're going to talk about that whole cycle and the things that you can do to really support your egg quality so that you're giving yourself the best chance possible, not just to get pregnant, but then to have the healthiest baby possible, right? That's what we all want in the end. That's the result that we're going for, is just a happy, healthy family where we can enjoy each other and go on experiences. And so it all starts with the egg. It starts in the beginning. It starts with you right now and what you're doing. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining the video. Share this out with your friends, and I will see you next Monday for the egg quality video. And then if you are in my Facebook group, the Monthly Club, we do a different theme each month. And in June, we're talking about cycle syncing. So the different things you can do, the different phases of your cycle and how they impact food, exercise, and work, and how you can start to really work with your cycle instead of fighting against it. So you can join us over there at the monthly club. You can find me over at parsningpumpkins.com. If you want help formulating an herb blend, you can do a consult with me. You can schedule that on my website. And if you are looking at getting a steam stool of your own, you will get a free consult when you purchase a steam stool on my website, because I really want to make sure people are doing this correctly. They're doing it in a way that will get them the results they're trying to get, right? So we can talk about herb formulating and all of that. All right, everyone. I will talk to you soon. Have a fantastic day.